Hello everybody, UB here, and today we're going to talk about a project I made for the newest additions to the UB Draws household. So that was Happy, and we adopted him and his brother Grumpy from the Humane Society a few months ago. They have adapted beautifully to their new home, but the thing that comes with cats, as you may know, is claws. You can't blame a cat for acting within its nature. However, I did want to protect our couch from any further damage, so I decided to make a cover that will go over the arm of the couch and also integrate some shoe storage because it truly looked ghastly for a very long time. With all that being said, our first step in any good project is to do some sketches and get all of our measurements for whatever we're building. So I got all of the measurements for the couch. I will be linking a project guide in the description. If you follow me on Patreon for free, you can get all sorts of patterns and designs like this one. You just have to be following my journey on the platform. Once I had the measurements of the couch arm, I was able to basically draw out the design that I wanted to create and then decide on the measurements that I needed for each board, each piece that I would need to put this thing together. And once I got all of that together, it was really a matter of going online to my preferred hardware store and picking out all of the boards that I would be able to both fit in my car and use for the project at the different widths that I needed. Most of the wood that I used here was 10 inches wide by 1 inch thick, or in some cases 12 inches wide by 1 inch thick. And then I also had a chunk of plywood to use as the back of the shoe organizer portion of this project. I started with the construction of the portion that was going to hold our shoes because it was the portion that I kind of understood the best. You can see me using a lot of the same techniques that I used in my video where I made a cabinet for my partner. It's just a very simple box, and then I put the back on. All of these were cut to length in my workshop, but I figured you guys don't need to see me cut more wood. At least not for a little while. And then I attached the back to the best of my ability. I wanted this to have 2 shelves to hold as many shoes as possible, so I put some pocket holes in the bottom of the piece that was cut to shelf length. And then I cleaned up real quick. Then I set the piece on its side so that I had the best vantage point. If you do a project like this, I suggest alternating what side your pocket hole is on, and then you can fill in with wood filler from there. For the front of the cat scratcher portion of this project, I wanted to basically frame out a chunk where I would put either rope or carpet. I did this in a super easy way with some clamps and wood glue overnight. And then I went in and filled in the corners so that everything was nice and tight. Pro tip, using a wet cloth to smooth out your wood filler is great, but even better is using a toothpick to get into little grooves like this. So the curse of having a small workshop is that you really only have so many places to put a camera, so bear with me. It's day 2. What we're going to do today is I've got the front panel for the cat scratchy space where we're gonna put all of the rope here, and we've got these filled in, so we're gonna do a very brief sanding before we put our chosen stain, and this matches what we have going on in our kitchen, so that should be really nice. It also complements all of the dark tones that exist in our house, because we are dark gremlin people. The other thing I want to do before we get to staining the cabinet portion of this project is all of the screws poke out just a little bit because of the design of their heads. So what I want to do is take them out one by one and use a larger drill bit to create a small divot where that head can be more flush to the surface of the wood. So we're gonna make our sawdust and then clean up, and then we'll get along to applying stain. Staining this piece was a lot of fun because I basically got to just be messy in my workshop for a day. Having the front portion of the cat scratcher bit of this project basically on the way to being done, I wanted to design the top portion that would sit on top of the arm of the couch to have a cup holder. The thing was, I went online and there aren't a lot of great ideas for how to make a cup holder if you're doing something kind of small like this. So after doing some research, I resigned myself to simply doing the cup holder by hand. This took me a good hour and a half, but you can sit and do this in front of the TV if you really want. Just make sure to have something underneath to catch all of your wood shavings. And if you're going to be doing this at home, make sure to wear a cut-proof glove on the hand that's holding your piece. This is just something that protects you if the chisel happens to slip. And it is really easy for a chisel like this to slip. After making it deep enough that I was satisfied, I took some coarse sandpaper and sanded down the edges and the bottom to the best of my ability. Honey, you'll be able to scratch on that soon enough. So this is my least favorite part of basically any project. I'm at a point where I had a very clear vision of what I wanted to create in my head. I got whatever materials I could to create the closest thing I could to that vision, and because of the differences in the materials and the sketch that I made, I have to do a little bit of problem solving to bring that vision to life. This is inherent with almost any project that a person does, especially if they're not super well versed in whatever medium they're working with, and obviously I am not a master woodworker. With that being said, these guys need a scratching post sooner rather than later. I've been working on it all week and I would love to have it done by the end of the week. We're getting pretty close. Most of the pieces that need staining have been stained, and today I need to figure out two things. What you doing, Happy? So, with all that being said, the two problems I need to figure out today are, number one, this is actually an execution issue, more so than a materials issue. But essentially, when I did my measurements, I didn't take into account the thickness of the wood I was using. This is a very easy mistake to make, and I've actually never done it to myself before, so with this one, I'm a little egg on my face, you know, a little bit embarrassed. What that means is that essentially, the portion of this piece that's going to hold all of our shoes is a little wider than intended, which the top of said piece sits exactly flush to the top of the chair arm or the couch arm. That's only a problem because the piece that's going to go on top of here is gonna make that about an inch taller, so then everything won't be flush. So I think I need to put some little bitty feet on the bottoms of the portion that's going to be a little bit shorter than intended. We picked up some sliders from the hardware store, but those are really only about a 1/4 inch tall, and I'm missing a full inch worth of height. Secondly, because of how I did my measurements, essentially the back panel wasn't cut quite big enough to go across the entire back of this portion that's going to hold all of our shoes. Again, I didn't include the thickness of the wood, and the back panel really does have to overlap to have something to be screwed into. I got it attached, but it's a little wonky at the moment, and I would love to hide that somehow. I did buy an extra piece of wood that's basically as a trim piece if I had something like this that needed to happen. I'm glad that I bought that extra piece of wood, because what I might do is try to put a little lip between the arm of the couch and the top of the shoe shelf here. And then I also need to put that same width, that 1 inch, in between on this side, so that it's basically hiding the space that it creates between this chunk, the scratching post chunk, and the shoe rack. So with all that being said, there's a lot of wood that I need to cut. You've seen me cut wood before, so I'm gonna go do that, and then we're going to mock up what's happening, and then I'm going to get everything stained so that it can all get put together tomorrow. Getting this extra trim piece installed was a little bit of a to-do because I accidentally made one of the pieces too long, and then I tried to trim it and it broke. So you'll see me showing that off in a couple of minutes, but in the meantime, I took a deep breath and decided to install the feet on the bottom of our piece. I used fairly small screws for this, and I made sure to start them before flipping over the piece and getting into the nitty-gritty of it all. Starting your screws like this can really make the difference in making a project go smoothly. Working in a small workshop, I basically had to set down 2 items that were about the same height off the ground, and then flip the entire piece. And then I was able to drill each foot into place and hammer each slider all the way in. After getting all of the feet installed, I went in and touched them up with some acrylic black paint, mostly because I was a little bit in a rush and nobody's gonna see the underside of the feet of this piece. So I think what I want to do for the afternoon is start the actual scratching post portion of this project. This is something that we used to do with our actual scratching post that we had a long time ago. And basically, whenever it got to be a little worn down, we would just replace the rope that was on the scratching post. Those things are really expensive, so if you can just pick up a spool of jute, that's what this is called, and replace it, that's very economical. Same idea here. I'm going to be using my handy dandy staple gun, and we're just gonna basically worm it around inside here, stapling as we go, tap those staples down with a hammer, and call her good. Using pocket holes on the inside of this piece really makes it easy to take apart and put back together again. Hello again, friends. I've got Grumpy. Grumpy has been my little helper all morning. With that being said, I got this chunk of wood stained so that it matches everything else. It's had a couple of days to dry, but with that being said, what I'm gonna do is take the couple of screws out of under here to separate the two pieces. I'm going to put this in place and screw it so that it stays on. And then I'm going to prep a couple extra pocket holes on the inside of this so that there's a little more support going between the two pieces, and then we'll connect them together. And then we can call this project done. I have a little bit of touch-up paint that I want to do in the spots where I didn't fully sand away all of the wood glue, but we'll see if we get around to that today. All right, let's get started. Installing this piece that I had broken earlier was super simple. I just put a couple of screws into it and then tipped everything right side up and installed the cat scratcher portion. I did, however, have to install a couple more pocket holes that I didn't realize I needed before I put the felt on everything. The felt is there just to protect the couch itself, and I hope to finish putting felt on the top of it at some point. And then I simply replaced the felt and stapled it back into place. And that's a wrap on my cat scratcher project. It took me probably 2 weeks, maybe 3. I don't really remember. This was a while ago as of the time that I'm editing this. And of course, kitties are making noise as I'm recording. You'll be happy to know that the cats do really love to cuddle up in that corner of the couch now. They have fun playing on the couch arm, and I've seen Grumpy use the cat scratchy bit a few times, but they haven't really acclimated to that portion yet. Around the same time I built this, we also bought a cat tree off of Facebook Marketplace that was a really good deal, so they mostly use that cat tree to trim their nails, but I also rest easy knowing that our couch is protected from any kitty claws. Not to mention, I really love decorating our house with pieces that I've made, because I know that I have people in my family who have passed who made little furniture items or what have you, and it's always special to have something that they made with their hands. With that being said, thank you so much for getting to the end of the video. Here's 1,000 experience points just for that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. I'm a small channel, just trying to get started, really. I will have all sorts of new projects out every month, and we're always keeping things fresh here. So don't forget to check out my Patreon if you'd like to support me, or if you'd like to follow me for free to get all of the little patterns and designs and all of the freebies that I put out on there. Don't forget to drink some water and have a great rest of your day. Peace.